Ready to dive into something a little different today?
Yeah, bring it on. Always up for a challenge.
We're looking at bodyguard and crowd controller training in Queensland, Australia.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I've always wondered what goes into that. It seems pretty intense.
I've always thought of it as all action, like straight out of a movie.
Yeah, me too.
But we got this document about ongoing training requirements.
Yeah.
And it's way more complex than just, being tough.
Real.
Yeah. So for starters, these professionals need to refresh their training every 3 years.
Wow. Every 3 years.
Yep. Makes sense though, right? They're dealing with unpredictable situations, crowds, conflicts. Things can escalate quickly.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They got to be on top of their game. For everyone's safety, theirs included, I bet.
Exactly. And that's where all these specific training modules come in. They need to stay sharp.
Okay, I'm curious now. What kind of modules are we talking about?
Well, one that really caught my eye was managing conflict and security risks through negotiation.
Negotiation. Wow, I mean, that's not what first comes to mind when you think of bodyguards, is it?
Right. It's like, how do you negotiate with someone who's, say, aggressive or intoxicated?
Yeah, good point. That takes some serious skill. You need to stay calm, assess the situation, and figure out the best way to de-escalate things.
Exactly. And it sounds like it goes way beyond just talking someone down.
Oh, definitely. They're dealing with a lot of factors, like reading body language, understanding crowd psychology, even knowing when to use verbal skills versus physical intervention.
That's a whole other level of complexity.
Right. It's all about being prepared for anything.
Okay, so let's talk about those physical skills. They've got a module called Empty Hand Techniques. Sounds kind of intense, right?
It is, but it's not just about, brute strength. It's more about controlled and measured responses, like minimizing harm while maintaining control.
So what does that look like in practice?
Okay, so imagine a situation where someone's getting out of control. Instead of, say, resorting to punches or kicks, they might use a technique like the escort hold.
The escort hold.
Yeah. It's a way to safely guide the person away from the situation with minimal force. They learn a whole bunch of these restraint holds, takedowns, things like that.
So it's all about finding that balance between control and safety.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance, but a crucial one. And remember, it's not just about one-on-one situations. They also deal with crowd dynamics, which can change in an instant.
Yeah, good point. Crowds can be unpredictable.
Right. Like picture a concert, everyone's having a good time, and suddenly there's a surge towards the stage.
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen. It can get scary.
Exactly. And that's where a trained crowd controller comes in. They use their knowledge of crowd psychology to prevent a potential stampede, prevent things from turning into a disaster.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. There's so much more to this job than meets the eye.
Totally. And here's another crucial element, first aid and CPR training.
Oh, right. Because they're often the first ones on the scene in an emergency.
Exactly. Whether it's a medical episode at a bar or an injury during a security incident, they need to be ready.
So what are the requirements there?
Well, they have to be up to date on basic first aid, and they actually need to refresh their CPR training every year.
Every year. Wow, that really highlights how important it is.
Absolutely. You never know when those skills might be needed to save a life.
This whole deep dive has really given me a newfound respect for bodyguards and crowd controllers. It's a lot more than just, muscles and intimidation.
Right. They are highly trained professionals with a huge responsibility on their shoulders.
Yeah, they're literally there to protect people and keep things under control.
And we've only scratched the surface here.
Oh, yeah. Like what else?
Well, think about the legal framework surrounding the use of force, for example.
Oh, right. Because they can't just,
No.
do whatever they want.
Exactly. There are strict guidelines, and they have to make split-second decisions in high-pressure situations. And then there are the ethical dilemmas.
I bet there are. It's not always black and white.
Nope. And then there's the psychological toll of dealing with constant potential conflict. It can be a really demanding job.
Totally. So next time I see a bodyguard or crowd controller, I'm going to see them in a whole new light. Not just as tough guys, but as skilled professionals with a whole lot of training under their belt.
Absolutely. It's a profession that deserves a lot more recognition and understanding.
Couldn't agree more.
It's a fascinating field, for sure.
Well, that was a really interesting deep dive.
Yeah, I learned a lot today.
Me too. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.
And stay safe out there.